Okay, this is take 2 of solve an exercise with prop video. Recording videos is always more difficult than it seems, so the first video went completely south. It only shown for whatever reason a quarter of my screen, so we're giving it a second chance. Still unscripted, but I kind of know what I have to say. Okay, so we are in the second week of advanced 8th week of advanced programming. Let me open our repository. 080. We're going to talk about prop, or actually more about gen than about prop, but the chapter is called prop for whatever reason. And I'll open our exercises. Okie dokie. Let's look at the exercises. How do I zoom it in? Like that, I think. That shot. Like that. There. And what did I do? Okay. You should of course read all the introduction. I kind of remember it, so I'll focus on the important point. We are using state scala from a few weeks back. We're not going to change state scala. We're going to work in the file called gen scala. But the first few exercises are just there to remind us how to work with random number generators, because this is what we're going to use in the second part. So I'll solve the first one of those first, and then we'll look in the second part briefly. So we're asked to create. So RNG is the type of random number generators. We are asked to create a new random number generator of type simple and seed it with 42. So how do I go about that? I'll open an editor. Close it. I'll make this a little larger and this a little smaller. This is the build script. It's not particularly interesting for you. What we need is not gen spec, not gen.scala. Yo, here it is. We also need so let's make it full screen. We also need a terminal, and in the terminal I start as VT. And when the gracious SPT loads, I'll start the test task. It starts to compile. I want to see that everything is alright. Hopefully I didn't mess up anything here. This is totally fine. 20 tests failed. Let's start to eliminate these failures. So exercise 1. Yep, here we are. We are asked to create something of type simple. The simple constructor, this I just remember, was hidden in the type RNG, and it returns as of thing of the right type. Let's see whether this will compile. And it did indeed, and now it's 19 tests failed and I am 1 ahead. Okay, maybe, how did I remember that? I actually don't. Oh, well. There is a file state scala somewhere in the same tree, and here in the RNG object I have a class simple, which has a constructor given a seed. It will give me an object of type RNG. So this is what I have used. Okay. All right. Back to that. Okay. This is the exercise text again. So the exercise. What's going on here? The exercise continues like that. building different, now trying to generate some numbers, etc. I think once you went through the first 5 exercises, you should remember how it worked 3 weeks ago, so the rest becomes much easier. Now the first exercise on Jan and this week's material is exercise 6. I'll solve exercise 9, and then we'll leave you with the rest. Okay, so exercise 9 asks me to implement a flat map generator for generators. A flat map, for flat map, the most important part is the type. We should already be familiar with it. So the flat map operates on the object of this here. It takes another function from A's to gen B's, and then it flattens the result into a single gen B. It's going to be relatively easy for us to implement this flat map because a gen is just a wrapping of a state, and state already has a flat map. So the way it will work is that I will unwrap the state, I will flat map the result, and then I will wrap it again into gen as necessary. Okay, so let's get to that. Here is my editor. I need to find exercise 9. Unfortunately, the tests will not pass because I need to solve exercise 7 for this one to pass. So perhaps you should solve exercise 7 before solving exercise 9. Okay, so or maybe let me leave it here. And I'd like to go up here. Yep, this is the top of the class definition for gen, and you can see that it has a sample property. So in order to get the state value that is wrapped inside, I need to get that sample out. So when I do this dot sample, I have a value of state RNGA. Okay, so on state RNGA, I can call flat map. So let's do that. And the flat map takes a function from A's to some RNGB. Okay. Okay. So, and what I have is a function f from A to gen B. So that's slightly unfortunate, but can we somehow create a function from A to to state RNGB from a function A to gen B? Yes, we can, because the gen B created has the right instance of state hidden inside, right? This gen B here is a wrapping of state RNGB. So we can call this function and we can unwrap the sample for this to type check. Let me explain what I mean. So the first idea is to say flat map f. This is not going to work. As you see on the right hand side, what this function f produced is gen B, right? It's a function from A to gen B. We need a function from A to state of RNG something. How can we do that? Well, if we called a function f on this A, this gives us a gen B, and if I extract the sample from that, I'll obtain now this entire function inside is of the right type. It produces a state. This will still not compile, but we're getting there. So let's see what the type error message is now. So now we have. So now this thing inside has compiled. It type checks. It's the right thing, but this entire thing doesn't type check. How do I know that? Well, it tells me that this expression. Now it points more or less on the entire thing. I don't exactly know how to interpret this tick sign, but before it pointed at f, right? This entire expression now produced an object of type state RNGB, but this type annotation wants us to produce gen B. So this entire flat map, right, which is now a call of a flat map from state, produces state RNGB. And I have to convert it again into a gen, but that's fairly easy, right? I can, for example, well, gen has a constructor that takes a sample that is of type state, right? And now it compiles, and things are fine. The tests are still failing because I need to solve exercise 7 for the test to pass, which I won't. I will leave you. I'll leave that to your homework. But maybe I'll just look briefly at whether I could simplify a few things here. I don't think this sample is necessary. I used it just to make things clearer for you. I mean, we can use this. We don't have to use the name argument. We can use a positional argument. There is only one argument, so the first one is mapping to sample. This is also default. In various programming languages there are various traditions. I'm not a great fan of it. Scala coding conventions say that we can write higher order function invocations in infix if you want. Let's see whether that compiles. Still compiles. We have a lucky day. Well, maybe if we have a lucky day, we can also rename this A. I don't know, that's mostly a matter of taste. This has compiled as well. I have a habit of annotating my higher order functions with types. Since this is a flat, we are calling a flat map to B, I like to put it here. That's just me. Very often compiler likes it as well, then the errors disappear. In this case, it was purely a matter of aesthetics. Okay, this way we are done. Unfortunately, the tests for this exercise, well, let me show you. Exercise 1, 2, 3, 9. They fail because something else is unimplemented, and that something else is gen.unit. And gen.unit is the content of exercise 7. So once you have solved exercise 7, these tests should pass. With this, I'd like to finish and wish you good luck with the rest of the